is this?
Yeah, these things high definition. It just
amazing,
and it's so easy.
You can make a movie on that. You can
plug
make
it in.
On that.
It's incredible.
Yeah, you can actually. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, ready? Barry Navidi, producer and director extraordinaire. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, but I'm producer rather than director, but I'm a creative producer, I would say, because you know, that's how I like to be known as, creative producer, because I haven't directed the film yet.
Superb. But you just had Wild Salome at the Venice Film Festival. How was it received?
Well, we were not expecting this kind of a reception. It was fantastic. We had the standing ovation. The press seemed to like it because we had a lot of good, you know, not previews, critic, and the buzz with the film, because it's just one of those pictures that you really don't know whether you're going to go north or south with it. So we were kind of holding our breath, but it was really exceptionally received well. I was really pleased.
Is it a play, film, or a documentary then?
Well, it's something that Al Pacino even had that problem kind of analysing it, but it's a collage. It's a docudrama. It's got, you know, it's got all the layers, you know, because it's Al Pacino's journey trying to find out about Oscar Wilde. At the same time, he's putting on a play. While he's putting on a play, he's also trying to make the movie of Salome. So you have layers within layers and layers, like onion. You keep peeling and you keep discovering other elements. So really, it's a docudrama. I mean, I can't say just pure documentary because it isn't. But so we're going to go out there as a documentary because we want to make people more comfortable when they see the film. But it's kind of half of it is drama.
Yeah. Does that make your job harder or easier?
It makes it much harder to sell the picture because audiences are used to one thing and not two things or three. We have so many layers coming at us. The marketing is going to be always tough. That's why we rely on internet, word of mouth, you know, people getting to know about the movie, be able to talk about it. This is not one of those pictures you release and see what's going to happen in a couple of weeks. This movie will have a longevity for years, but that's how we kind of launched it in Venice. We didn't sell it yet. We launched it. Now, slowly within 6 months, we'll start finding platform for it. And hopefully by September next year, you have it in the theaters.
Was Al Pacino on good form in Venice?
Completely. He loves Italy. He's American with an Italian heart. And Italy, there's a saying, Al Pacino, God and the Pope. So whatever order you want to put him, so because he's a hero there.
I'm an Italian, that's very true. I mean, you've worked with him before, firstly on The Merchant of Venice, as well as King Lear, recently. But in The Merchant of Venice, it was nearly a disaster movie, as you yourself were quoted as saying it nearly went down like the Titanic. Yeah. Can you explain the most sort of harrowing elements of it?
Well, yes. I mean, the thing is, with Merchant of Venice, that took us a while to put together because it was a very controversial play, and nobody had produced a movie of it. There've been a lot of plays, a lot of television adaptation of it, but not as a movie. We wanted to make it like an epic. So people will see it and they'll, you know, they kind of can also understand because it's a movie, yeah. You know. But the thing is, raising money for that picture was a nightmare, and had a lot of good people from other co-producers. But the thing was that once we were in Venice, and it's not the easiest place to shoot because you're on water all the time, and you have to carry everything on little gondolas or boats or taxi boats. We didn't have the money all the way because it was hard to close the bank, as we say, terminology we use. And it felt like the Titanic was sinking, but nobody sank, and we kind of delivered the Titanic to the port, and the movie ended up to be beautiful, and we're very proud of it. But that's how I actually made my relationship with Al at that point.
What about the hostage situation?
Well, that was like it's kind of grossly exaggerated. But what happened was that we finished the film, everybody were happy, and we were staying at a hotel in Italy, in Venice, and we hadn't paid the bill because we were waiting to the bank to close so we can get the money and we pay everybody. I knew we were going to close the bank, but the manager of the hotel said, we haven't closed the bank. We owed about $1 million because we were there for 7 weeks. And she was a very beautiful woman. I said, look, why don't you take me as a hostage? I stayed there for a week, which I did. I stayed there for 1 week until the bank closed, and I loved it. I had my holiday there. And then, of course, they released the money, and everybody got paid.
Fantastic. Is it true that Marlon Brando then told you that Al Pacino would be perfect for that role?
Well, Marlon Brando and I also knew each other, and we worked together for a number of years developing a number of projects. That's how I really met Al Pacino. Because I offered Marlon Brando Merchant of Venice, and Marlon said, no, I can't do Shakespeare right now, but give it to that crazy Shakespearean actor, Al Pacino. And I said, great. Well, he put me in touch with Al. That was 10 years ago. And then Al said, yes, I'll do it. Can you wait for me? I said, sure. That's how actually relationship with Al Pacino and myself grew, because of Brando.
And having the nightmare that was that film that turned out to be a beautiful journey. Chose another one, King Lear.
Yeah, King Lear is. First of all, Wild Salome took 4 years.
Wow,
4 years because we didn't have a script. It was pay as you go, schedule as you go. We didn't have because it was based on a one-act play, and Al said, "Let's just go with my passion," and his passion is very contagious because it grabs you because truly he's the most passionate artist I've ever worked with, and at the same time we just said let's go with the flow, and then as we went on with the movie, with the documentary, we started creating a story behind it. That's why it took 4 years. While we were actually doing that, Al said to me, "I'm ready to do King Lear. So do you want to produce it?" Now, if Al didn't want to do King Lear, I'm not interested because Al is King Lear. It really truly is the best. He'd be fantastic. We're going to shoot that hopefully sometimes next year. So we haven't started production on Lear, but that's how Lear was born. He said, "Well, let's go and do it hopefully sometimes when we are done with Wild Salome." Now we are done. So now the rest for me is to see how I'm going to make King Lear.
What is it about Shakespeare's plays that can translate still today to a modern audience so well?
Because their stories are universal. I mean, whether it's about love, hate, or dysfunctional family in King Lear. And how you interpret it, we have a really good director, Michael Radford, who did Merchant of Venice, of course.
Yeah.
He kind of, we try to, especially with the way Michael and Al work, they're trying to kind of not only humanize the characters, plus making it more naturalistic. Because a lot of Shakespeare is way over the top, way rada, way kind of stuff that we've seen on stage, and therefore the approach we have is more cinematic. And I think if you know how to do it, then you're in great shape.
But and Oscar Wilde as well. I mean, another British writer. Is there? You got other future projects? Are the British writers the best in general?
Well, Oscar Wilde again. These are passion projects. Merchant of Venice was a picture that I wanted to make because I wanted to do it for the different reason with Brando, and Brando put me in touch with Al. And then, of course, it was a no-brainer because it was such a good thing. Salome was Al Pacino's idea. He said, I want to do this. I've done it for 15 years on stage. Do you want to get involved? And I said, yes. British, I mean, of course, I love Oscar Wilde. Who wouldn't, the guy? But King Lear is Shakespeare. If Al Pacino says to me, I want to read Yellow Pages, I'll say, okay, let's go and do it. Because he's so good at, it's hard to say no to him, I don't claim to be a Shakespeare connoisseur. Nor am I looking to do. I mean, people send me Hamlet and Henry V. They keep sending me. I think you don't need to do them because it's been done beautifully by Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
But nobody ever done a real great work regarding, say, Merchant of Venice because they haven't done it. Otherwise, I wasn't going to just do another Hamlet or another Macbeth. It's been done beautifully. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want to do something
certainly.
and it's not every day you can just go and do Merchant of Venice because it's expensive. So King Lear is the same thing. It's been done 4 or 5 times, but I really believe we have an angle to make this. Otherwise, I honestly, I'm not claiming to be a Shakespeare connoisseur, nor am I looking to do necessarily Shakespeare. But Al is like my partner. It's like we're together, and if he says to me, "Let's do something," I certainly will consider and say, let's go and do it.
Actually, thinking about that, so the new project, an audience with Al Pacino, you want to take it to a global audience, live Q&As.
Al came up with an idea and said, "Look, I want to do a kind of a one-man show where I interact with the audience. They get to know me a little bit. I show my films that I've done. I talk about them and then maybe do a bit of a monologue, Shakespeare, Eugene O'Neill, or Hemingway, or whatever." And that started in the States, and he's been doing that. So I said to Al, "Look, there are various sources, places that we can go all over the world because they get to see the real you, that they." And he said he's quite receptive to it. So we're kind of looking and see which territories, which countries that he's receptive to, so we can go to.
So, I mean, you must know Al Pacino very well by now.
Yeah, I know him pretty well.
Would you
I know
say...
too much, you'll kill me.
Can you tell us any inside stories that nobody knows about?
Well, he's the funniest guy in the world. I tell you, not many people know this. He's the funniest guy in the world, believe me. He started as a stand-up comedian, by the way.
Really?
Then he went on to drama and Shakespeare and acting. Absolutely. It's amazing how your path changes. If somebody gave Al a comedy at the age of 25, let's say, and the comedy was a hit, it would have been Jim Carrey, for example. Seriously. So that's something people don't know. And that's why Wild Salome, when you see that, you'll see an insight about Al Pacino that you never really envisage.
How would you rate him as an actor then?
Having worked with Brando, having worked with one of the greatest English actors, Paul Scofield, we've been very lucky. I mean, Al Pacino is like 11 out of 10. And I'm not just saying that because I've been spoiled already since I was a kid working with these great geniuses and giants and legends. My first mentor was John Huston. So, but there's nobody like Al. I'm telling you, there's nobody like him. I'm just not saying that there's nobody like him. The guy breathes oxygen art. You know, he's just on his own. And that's why I think you can't call Al Pacino a genius. You call Al Pacino Al Pacino. There's plenty of geniuses around. I'm a genius. I'm saying it very openly because there are plenty of geniuses, but there's only one Al Pacino.
Very true, very true. But if you had to work with another actor, actress, you know, is there any on your wish list that you'd like to work with in the future?
I said that to Al the other day. I'm pretty spoiled. I mean, you know, there are very few because there are a lot of good actors out there. Don't get me wrong. There's wonderful actors. I'd love to discover actors and actresses now. To me, the challenging is not like I go through a list and say, do I want to work with? Very few. I mean, the wonderful actors out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I just love to discover them now.
Is there any names that stand out that you think could be big names in the future?
Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is a great English actor who's brilliant. I'd love to work with him. I mean, Jessica Chastain, who is in Wild Salome, she's she's a Marlon Brando of actresses. Truly, she's amazing. That's why she's been doing all these movies back to back. Tree of Life, The Debt, The Help. I mean, she's brilliant. That's the level you got to aim with. You know, when you work with people like that, it's just you got your standard. I learn as a producer when you're working with Jessica Chastain, and every other actresses who come and see the movie, they all have to say, "Oh my God, this is what we're up against." So you know, you got to find them. You got to seek them. That's why we like to discover actors. But Tom Hardy, I love to work with him.
Great. And on a final note, is there anything you'd like to say to film news readers?
I'd love you to go and see Wild Salome when it comes out, and just keep talking about it, keep watching the trailers. We're going to keep giving you information because this movie is intelligent and you deserve to see it, and for the sake of the art, for Oscar Wilde and for Al Pacino. Thank you.
Barry, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, I think good timing.